Thank you, Shaun, for your time and for being part of this. I'm trying to call this as an experiment to kind of just be better at the industry and have everybody just on board in order to kind of, okay, what we are doing good and proceed doing it, and what we are doing wrong and just stop it, right? So basically that is the point of all these type of recordings, audios, share of all the industry with professionals. And I know that you are a product consultant from Western Canada from the company 4.75. So at some point I was thinking, okay, 4.75, 4.75, 475. So before we get into specifics, can you give me a little bit of an insight about from where 4.75 is coming?
Yeah, this is a great story. So it started off with Flores and Ken in Brooklyn, New York, about 8 years ago. And they started off calling themselves the Passive House Supply, but that's a pretty niche, name. And so in the marketing efforts to expand, they, of course, added the high performance building supply that, attracts more people to the market. But if you know, Passive House, and one of the constraints is you need to get to 15.0 kilowatts per meter squared per year in the heating demand. Well, once you convert that into imperial, what do you get? 4.75 BTUs per feet squared per year. So if you're kind of a Passive House nerd, you get it. And again, it aligns with kind of our core values. So we're targeting the market to move towards high performance homes and buildings, because we're not just talking about single family. We're talking about any building can be high performance. And at the same point, if you follow the 5 Passive House principles, you'll be able to get there. So kind of keeps to the roots of where it was founded, and I started in Brooklyn. And as you can tell from me, we're across North America with a lot of reps helping out builders and architects in the building community move towards a market shift in building better homes in buildings.
That's awesome. At some point I was wondering, well, I think that is something pretty interesting. So that's why I was, okay, that's going to be my first question, because I know that it's going to be like a certain background that it will wow me, right? So, and now before we talk about your company, so who is Shaun?
Yeah.
What is your background about, if you want to share a little bit about education or from where you're coming from, or where did you take some courses? If you can share that with me, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So when I graduated high school, again, I was kind of brought up typical Canadian playing hockey, had an opportunity to go to UBC. And at that time, was asked from one of the, counselors there where I wanted to go. And luckily they persuaded me to take on a wood products processing program at UBC. So did that for 6 years, graduated in 2003. And I knew at that point that I had a choice to either go work in a sawmill or get into prefabricated homes. And luckily I was able to get into a prefab company in Richmond. At the time was the most automated factory in North America, and was able to just work towards that. And along that path, I, developed a passion for sustainable prefab passive homes, where I took the designer course in 2014. I took the tradesperson course in 2017. And while I was taking that course, I asked the professor and the team at BCIT if they needed other instructors. And soon enough, a couple months later, I was one of the instructing team at BCIT, and being able to connect the community and other builders about moving things forward. And still doing that even with COVID. The classes have moved online. And so I'll be back in January to help out the team doing more in-person courses, which is great, because again, we need to scale this fast and furious, and it's great to work with builders on some of those basic steps. And one of the reasons I love the Passive House community is this kind of open source technology where we're just sharing all of our successes and failures. And it's a very, again, because it's the Passivos is brought in from Germany, there's definitely a European flair to how we're all communicating and connecting with each other. So I've been involved with 4.75 for the last 2 years. Before that, I was a builder and working towards becoming just a spec passive home builder and trying to do or build, 3 or 4 Passivos projects. 4.75 was an opportunity to connect with hundreds of builders and projects. And some of the projects I'm involved in are just amazing, from full passive house buildings to living building challenge projects, net zero retrofits. A lot of individuals really pushing the boundaries of high performance and using 4.75's products, the Proclima lines and membranes and tapes, the Gutex wood fiber insulation, the Lamlock skylights, to really push the boundaries of high performance, and feel very fortunate to share the tips and tricks that I've learned, as well as the team at 4.75 to move things forward. So, pretty different career path than most, but really fortunate and excited and happy where I've landed and where I'm able to help out the industry.
Oh, that's great. That's great because being in this industry, sometimes I'm trying always to find the broken link, right? All of a sudden you can just you design something, pretty proud about what you have accomplished during the design phase, and pass that along, and all of a sudden you notice that some things, if not at some point you can just achieve what was the intent, but sometimes you notice lack of understanding, right? From the construction point of view, and all of a sudden it's that is not what I wanted, or basically the performance is not there. And again, right, it's not because the contractor doesn't want to do it, but it's the lack of awareness, right, on how to do it right. So that's why it's okay, I want to kind of just find the broken link in order to kind of just reconciliate all the different elements that will pull together all these elements that is the actual project indeed, right? And trying to kind of provide all the needs and all the resources that it was, needed at some point, right? So I know that you mentioned something about 4.75, but if you can talk more about the company. So you're saying that this company is originally from the States, then, right?
Yeah.
Brooklyn,
yeah.
What you're saying,
from Brooklyn, New York, and really worked hard on that market to help grow. And as you can tell, the Northeast has kind of roots in energy performance from the 70s. And then you also then have the West Coast from California all the way up to BC and even Alaska, that is just trying to move it. And in Vancouver, the city has done an amazing job from a city council point of view and the mayor to get behind and really push the boundaries of high performance where it's policy. And so Vancouver, New York, are one of the growing cities in North America. And so that's why you can see the growth here in BC to be pretty substantial. And it's great that, it's now crossed over the Rockies and spilling into not only Alberta and the Rockies and definitely into Manitoba and Saskatchewan as well. And great that, talk about, Passivos roots, that 1977 Harold Orr built the Saskatchewan house. And so the Passivos has some Canadian roots, and it's pretty exciting to see, to see it finally spread across Canada.
So you already burned all my following questions. So
no worries. We can easily go back and hit on those. No.
So basically one of my next question was I understand that now that you're saying New York, for example, in the States, right? I know that Vancouver or BC area is a lot of influence there, right? One of my following questions how your company and of course this passive house movement has been impacted through the other provinces, right? And of course, Alberta is one of the ones that I want to touch base on, right? But how have you feel like this movement is starting to impact the other provinces at this point?
Yeah, I'll first come back to BC, and it's exciting that 10 years ago with the Olympics and what that did, because that brought Austria to Whistler, and with the prefabricated house that they had. And it's funny, every time I go to Whistler, I always gotta pay homage and go do the pilgrim to the passive house there, because again, that's really where it started. And the individuals that brought it there, from Matteo, BC Passive House, Guido, and Marcel. There's a few people there that really were the core to getting it spread. And then Sandra was involved, and with Marcel and Guido to create courses and get a tradesperson course and get a designer's course really started. That's where kind of the roots are, and then you have policymakers being involved in ensuring that it went and grew. We now have the SEP code, and so by 2032 we'll all be in BC building to near passive house levels, but still using the passive house principles to get to those marks. And now nationally, the code is looking at what BC's done. And of course it goes from, Vancouver to BC to the rest of Canada that's going to be adopting these high performance goals and measures. It's pretty exciting.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And that is something that, it grabbed my attention when I was looking for more information about, again, this passive house movement, right? At some point, I was getting my accreditation in one level of elite. And some point is when I jump on the passive house principles, right? And when I was trying to just go through this first stage about 128, I was like, okay, well, that's good, right? But everything in principles and theory always looks good, right? But for me, like being a little bit more technical in my profession, I was looking for, okay, wow. So the principle, it makes sense. There is no doubt about it. But how can I perform that in the real world, right? And once that I know how to perform that, like in a good way, what are the materials that I need to have in hand in order to kind of just perform it well, right? And is when I started to kind of just look at the web, right? And trying to kind of, I need to just find out how can I do this well, but it's going to be hard for me trying to just find the proper detail. I can remember that portion in my life. And looking at your website, something that just struck me the most is that you have this tab that is called, I think, Design Testing Tools. And I was amazed at the level of detail that you have there. At some point, honestly, just don't get me wrong, but I was thinking, well, everything is going to be biased on the actual material, right? But I was starting to just download all these different tools, which was 2x frames, double stud, masonry retrofit, wood retrofit, I-joist. And when I went through it, the level of detail that I was putting there for free was just amazing, because at some point I was thinking, well, yeah, of course they're putting their brand or their materials, but in order to kind of just supply these airtightness or whatever, I was saying, okay, well, the caulk there is the proper location, the membrane there is the proper location. So even though, of course, you are providing your materials there, everything is working together in the proper way in order to kind of just have the proper results. So that was the first approach that I had with your company. It was like, oh man, these guys know what they're doing, right? So can you kind of expand those ideas for me?
Yeah, well, what's great is it comes back to the core 4.75, where it comes back to this market transformation that we want the industry to do to get away from just building code. And code is really the worst thing you can build. And we know we can build better, and it doesn't take a lot of effort to build better. And so in creating the market transformation is about education. And for us, well, to scale it was to give that information out freely, And yes, it is biased that it does showcase our product, but at least it shows people how to make those connections. And when we look at Pascal's principles, and one being, continuous airtightness, we need to figure out how do we get that, your cube, that building, wrapped properly, and how do we connect? And, just to dive into kind of those four main areas we really need to work on is, foundation wall to wall, wall to window, window to roof, and then all of the electrical and plumbing penetrations. And typically, in a regular building, you have, 200 plus potential air leaks in your home. Well, it's pretty quickly to just showcase, depending on the envelope assembly you choose to build, how you can easily, wrap that. And of course, there's a variety of products out there in the marketplace, but it comes down to just how do you apply those products in the appropriate way, with a bit of building science behind it to ensure you're putting them in the right section. And so at least what we're saying is, here's our offering to provide you with a solution that we have used, it's been tried and tested, and that can work for you. To help people get around it. And in the books, they've been scaled up now, where there's a lot of 3D drawings. And so for people, when you're trying to look at a detail, the 3D application is really critical, because it's an extra layer of detail that you just sometimes can't think about or can't see in a 2D drawing. And that's offered in those ebooks.
Oh, that's great. And again, right, like not only the detail, but the quality of those details are pretty good, right? So there is no area of doubt what needs to come with what, right? So everything is there. And again, right, like whoever is listening these audios, I highly recommend you to can just go and check it out by yourselves. Go to the website. Not hard to can just find it, 4.75. That's about it, right? So that's a good way to kind of just go and land there.
How do you like it so far? Thank you for being with us. If you want to know about the following part, just keep in touch and follow us for the next part of this episode.
And please don't forget to leave me a review on whichever platform that you're using to listen in this podcast. Either good or bad. Remember, Mexican have thicker skin. You won't hurt my feelings, that's for sure. And better yet, if it has some good criticism, so I can learn from it and improve it, that will be even greater. I understand this hasn't been perfect, but it can be better every time. I recognize your time is valuable. I would like you to enjoy this moment with me as well. Also, if you like what you get from this audio, I will recommend you to be the first to share this info with your friends, so maybe they can get something valuable from it as well. Thanks for listening, and let's meet again soon.